We're going to learn a little bit of history and make a pomander ball. Pomander balls have been around for centuries, and originally they would have been generally small containers made of metal or even clay that would hold nice smelling spices and herbs, and they would have holes in them to allow that smell to emit. A lot of times they were worn as jewelry, and you can still see people wear them today. They're usually very pretty. They might put an incense in it, something nice like that. You might actually have one of these in your own home. It could be in the shape of a little critter that has little holes in it, and mom or dad would have put potpourri in it. That is a pomander. Also, something as simple as just a sachet with some pretty herbs in it. A lot of times people put those in their closets to keep their clothes smelling nice. So today we're going to make an orange and clove pomander ball. You're going to need an orange, whole cloves. You'll want ribbon to hang your orange from, and if you've run out of ribbon or you don't have any ribbon, you could also use yarn. To make inserting the cloves a little bit easier, you'll want a toothpick, or if you prefer a pencil, you're going to use that to put holes into the orange that you can then insert the cloves in. So for the orange and clove pomander ball, we are using whole cloves, and these you can actually find at the local supermarket. Typically when you purchase, or your parents purchase spices, they're going to purchase spices that are already ground. So they'll buy ground cloves, ground nutmeg, and ground allspice. Before you can actually cook with these or put it into your food, you would have to grind it. Now, to grind nutmeg, you can use a grinder like this. It looks a lot like a cheese grater, and you would rub the nutmeg against the grinder, and you might be able to see a little bit of that powder coming out into our container. In the store, it's going to look more like this that comes out. So that's what you're buying in the store. This is a task that can take quite a while. So mom might have put a young child in front of the table with a grinder and the nutmeg, and they would grind for a while until they had enough for mom to use. To grind peppercorn or allspice like this, or even cloves, we're not going to use a grinder like this one. Instead, we're going to use a spice grinder. And you put the dried whole spice in and you grind it. And it looks a lot like the coffee grinder that you might see here at the museum. We're going to make an orange and clove pomander ball. This is very traditional. A lot of people made it around Christmas time, so that's what we're going to make today. The first thing that we need to do to make it a little bit easier when you're designing your pomander is to put on the ribbon. So you'll take your ribbon, you want to find the center of your ribbon so that you have an even amount on either side. So this is about center. I'm going to go ahead and wrap that along my orange, flip it over, and I'm going to tie a half knot at the top. And this is just like when you tie your shoes. This is the first loop that you make. So that's a half knot. This is also just like you would do if you were wrapping a square box or putting a ribbon on a square box. And I'm going to twist it and flip it over. It helps if you can hold the ribbon with 2 fingers while using the other fingers to manipulate or move the orange. If you need help, that's okay too. All right, so now this time I'm not going to make just the half knot, I'm going to make a full knot. So there's 1/2 and 2. So there's my knot. So this is what it's going to look like. Now these ears, of course, I need to make a loop so that it can hang. So I'm going to put the ears together, and I'm going to make another half knot. Just like that. You could leave it like this with just the little ears flapping, or you could use this to tie a bow. So if you want a really long bow, cut extra ribbon. If you'd like a nice short bow like this, you don't need a lot of extra ribbon. And there you go. Okay, so this can still kind of slide right off. So to tack it down, before we begin our design, I'm actually going to put some cloves here in the corners. So like I said, to make that job a little easier, we're going to use a toothpick. And of course, I need my cloves. Now the cloves, you can tell they actually look a little bit like a nail. So that's basically how it's going to work. So I'm going to put a hole here in the corner, in each corner. And you could put the clove in without poking a hole with the toothpick first, but that makes it easier. It makes it a lot easier if you have a hole already there. And it also means that you don't have to put so much pressure on the clove. There is a little bud on the top, and if you push on that, it'll actually break off. Okay, so I did on the bottom, and now I'm going to do the same on the top. All right. So there you go. So it's going to look like this. It's nice and tacked down, and it won't slide off so easily. So now you have a blank canvas, and you actually have these 4 areas that you could design. So you could make any design you like. You could do a smiley face, you could make a Christmas tree, you can make zigzags, you could do just a line. You can make any design you like. If you look online, you can find some ideas, or you can just let your imagination go. So to make this easy, just to show you guys, I'm gonna make a line this way. And the nice thing about using the toothpick is I can design this and change my mind. And I don't have to put the cloves in just yet. I might decide, well, maybe instead of just a line, I like a cool V shape this direction as well. So I can keep adding to that. Make it look a little bit like a snowflake. But once I have those holes in, I'm just going to insert the cloves. And this actually goes pretty fast once you have those holes in and the ribbon is on. Putting the ribbon on is probably the trickiest part of what we're doing. Some people would add other spices. They might tie on some star anise and it looks like a star. They might tie it on the top or the bottom of this just to add a little bit of a different scent. They might put this in a bag, a paper bag, for a couple of days with some more spices, including cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg. There we go, that's one of my sides done. Very simple, very easy. If you were putting this in a bag with other spices like cinnamon and nutmeg, some of those spices have antifungal properties and antibacterial properties, and they would actually help keep the orange from molding. They wouldn't prevent it completely, so you still need to allow the orange to breathe. You couldn't put it against something or in a bottom of a bowl. It's still going to mold that way. But in that bag, it would have enough oxygen or airflow, and it would have a little bit of extra antibacterial around it, and it might not mold. And it would have a different scent to it. All right, here it is. So now that I'm done designing my pomander, the hardest part is probably waiting for it to dry. This is an orange, right? It is a fruit. And if you've ever left out a bowl of oranges, the one at the bottom especially always gets moldy. And the same thing can happen here. So you want to let this dry completely before you would maybe put it in a bowl for decoration. So being able to hang it is important. So you could hang this from a doorway, a doorknob, something where it has air circulating all the way around it so it can dry. And then you can put it in a bowl or in a wreath. If you want to put it in your Christmas tree, talk to your parents and make sure it's not touching a very special ornament because of course it's an orange and it has oil in the peel and there's oil in the clove as well. So make sure you keep an eye on that. But once this dries, and we've all seen oranges kind of shrivel up and get hard, that's what's going to happen here. Once this dries, you can keep it for years and it's still going to smell really nice. The clove, it's already a dried spice and it's always lovely. So I have an example of one that we have actually had at the museum for years. Yes, years, and that's right here. Now this one was completely covered in cloves, but if you look closely you can see how the orange in there, it doesn't look this bright orange anymore and it's shriveled up a bit. But if you smell this, it actually does smell citrusy and it smells like clove. So, and it's pretty solid. But this is a really nice gift to give to somebody, and it's also really pretty if you decorate your table with it.